There we go. Hey, it's not Friday. It is not Friday. It's Wednesday. This is a special edition of Live at the Nutmeg Tavern. Welcome. Come on in. We have got extra seats to one side and the other. You probably can't see them, but that's all right. Fireplace is lit. It's hot and warm. We are ready to go. I am your host, John Townsend. I am joined by the man behind the bar.
Hello.
Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
Yes.
He is serving drinks as well as being the moderator of the troublesome crowd that's out there. You rude and clamorous folks with tainted brains. And on the other side of the time...
Every one of them.
Yes. And on the other side of the time vortex, taking care of all the technical things.
Hello.
Aaron.
Hello. Thanks for being here today.
Yes.
So it's Veterans Day.
It is. It is 11/11. It is Veterans Day. And so because of that, I thought we would talk about soldiers. Good, I've got my books. I thought I almost forgot them. I'll get a bit. Soldiers and soldier life and all that kind of stuff. And a Revolutionary War period is just perfect for that. We've got some wonderful books, more and more. I keep finding journals and accounts and things like that. We'll be choosing from a couple of super well-known ones, and I've got some pictures to talk about. I don't think we need to discuss anything. Should I talk about these before we get any further into this?
No.
Okay, I won't. Let's start off with pictures. Aaron, let's run our quick slideshow. Hey, we're going to start off with images, and this, well, it's George himself, George Washington, in one of these. I thought this was an interesting picture because it doesn't look like George Washington that we normally see. It's a different image than what is typically shown, but it's like the person that we think of when we think Revolutionary War soldier, right? So there's George. Let's go on. This is, now here's one of the tricks about the Revolutionary War and the soldiers and things that are happening. There are very, very few images from the actual time period. You got plenty of 19th century images of what people thought Revolutionary War soldiers looked like, what the war looked like, etc., but not much actually happened. Nobody's, making art at the time. This is a piece of art that is the British marching through Concord by Ralph Earl. And, I love the primitive woodcut on this. It's just their engraving, whatever this is. But there's the British soldiers going through Concord right at the beginning of the war. One of those kind of rare images that was actually sketched out during the time, or at least by somebody who was standing there at the time. Oh, another famous general. We don't think of too many famous generals probably in modern context. Most people aren't. It's like, well, there's Washington and there were some other ones, right? This is Israel Putnam. And he's got this amazingly interesting bunch of stories about Israel Putnam. He was one of those characters that not your typical general. In fact, he was a soldier and served during the French and Indian War, so he knew a lot of the British officers, and he was kind of looked down upon because he treated his British officers extremely well, was very kind to them. And there was even some interesting Hessian officer that said something like, it would be only Americans who would make a guy like this a general, because he just was, a regular guy, and very well loved by his troops, and had some crazy exploits, like escaping from the British by riding down a super, steep hill. At one point, he was very, Washington was upset with him because he didn't send troops when he asked for it. And apparently at the time, there was some kind of, he got news about his wife being buried alive. Some kind of strange stories going on with this guy. But there's so many just very, very interesting characters in the war that you can learn about. He is one of them. Let's go on to the next one. This is an illustration of Beacon Hill, Boston area. There with some fortifications and Boston Harbor out there and these different locations. If you could see the image, it's kind of hard to see it, but these different spots are numbered. So a lot of these images would show the numbers and where these places are. Instead of a map, we're kind of given this drone shot view of an area, and they would point out these different places where things happened. So this is Beacon Hill done at this Revolutionary War time period. If you've overlooked Boston or at this time, this is like, where's Boston, right? Now this is huge and built up, and half of it is filled in, and there are buildings in there. It's amazing the difference, Boston from Revolutionary War time period to Boston today. So again, very, very few images from the time period of soldiers. This one is, the illustrator is Chadwiecki, who was a Polish artist who worked in Great Britain at the time period. I'm not sure where he got his references from about what these soldiers were supposed to look like, but we can see a rifleman here on our left, and notice his hat. It isn't a standard cocked hat, it's just a flat, round hat. He's got on a hunting frock, which is the classic, outfit of a rifleman during the Revolutionary War. He is holding a rifle. It's very Jaeger rifle looking in its hardware, but that's probably what the author knew the best, right? Because he's from that European area, so he would be well versed on what a Jaeger rifle would look like. And then the soldier over on the other side is supposed to be a Pennsylvania infantryman, sort of regular line. He's got on a brown coat with white facings, and he's got a standard musket that's going to be something like a Brown Bess. The poor artist, he just didn't quite know exactly what to do with that musket, but hey, good enough, right? This is another illustration. This one was done by Friedrich von German in 1778, and he's trying to illustrate a typical American soldier here. He didn't identify him beyond an American soldier, but he's dressed in sort of, he's militia, but he's some other state troop that doesn't have the standard facings or standard coat colors that we're used to, either brown and red, brown and white, blue like the one I'm wearing, blue with white or buff. But this is some kind of medium blue color with yellow facings, and sort of civilian looking really by his outfit. So he's either militia or some state troop again. But a great figure of just, here's an average soldier. Again, rare kind of illustration that comes from somebody who was there on the ground, and he may have just sketched this right there during the war. This illustration is, again, one of these amazing watercolor illustration of soldiers at the Yorktown Siege, 1781. It's Jean-Baptiste Antoine de Verge. And we've got a rifleman there kind of in the center with his rifle. You can see his hunting frock. He's got a tomahawk on the back. I don't know about this green hat. That's crazy. So it's like, dude, give that hat back to your wife, because I don't know what happened to yours. But so I don't know what's going on with the green hat. We have a regular soldier off to the right hand. He's got the standard blue coat with red facings, and he is an artilleryman. He's got his linstock there in his hand for being the person who's firing off cannons. Over here on the left, I think that is the very leftmost guy. I think it's Rhode Island. I'd have to look up that troop again. I'm not sure. a white coat, and it's got red cuffs, and this, I think it's one of those leather sort of helmets on that soldier, and then the one right beside him. And again, all these guys have overalls on instead of knee breeches. He's got on the standard blue or brown coat with red facings and a cocked hat. So those are some of the very few illustrations that we have that are, especially these last couple ones, that are soldiers from the actual time period, especially those last two. Just amazing illustrations. You would think that there would be more artwork like that, but there's just so little of it that it makes some kinds of research very difficult to do. We have written out descriptions, orders, and all that kind of stuff about what the coats were going to be like, but very few images that were taken contemporary of that time period.
So 2 guesses on the green hat. One, somebody says likely a scout, and the other says could it be a Queen's Ranger?
Good question. Could be. I don't know either. I'm not sure how to answer either one of those without doing a lot more research.
Yeah, I know the audio is out of sync. I'm trying to fix it. Sorry.
Should I give you a minute?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Just keep going. We'll get it.
So let's go into this was a good question. Let me find it here. Was there less of a standard uniform for the colonists in the American Revolution compared to later wars like the Civil War?
So a lot. This being standardized in their outfit was something that was a great difficulty. Very early in the war, it was just ad hoc. Everyone was bringing in. There were a lot of militia troops. There was no standard at all. Some people just wore whatever they had off the street. There were military units that did have uniforms, but they were all over the place. Everybody had a different thing going on. I mean, even as we got to the end of the war, 1781, Yorktown, that last image, there was no regularity at all within those 4 guys. Even though they all had uniforms per se, each one of them was very, very different. So there was a lot of work during the war trying to get some uniformity in uniforms. At one point, Washington was recognizing it's like, okay, there's no way we can get enough of these kind of coats to uniform everybody we need. So let's come up with this standard uniform that's a lot easier to produce. And so he talked about using sort of hunting frocks as that backup secondary. If they don't have this, give them this. So these frocks were used as a backup standardized uniform that could be much more easily gotten a hold of and used. So these coats, that the wool was hard to get, the right colors were hard to get, so those were very. And there was even a time when there was a bunch of captured British uniforms that were brought in, and they over-dyed the red coats with brown so that they wouldn't be red, right? So we can't issue the enemy's colors onto our troops, so how do we make these red coats work for us? Let's over-dye them to brown, and then we'll use them. Early on in the war, there were lottery coats that were made by the French that were brought over and distributed to some of the troops. So yeah, there was a tremendous difficulty in getting a regularity or uniformity to the outfits of the soldiers.
Somebody's wondering if it was common for cavalry to be outfitted with firearm or just sabers.
There's sort of like dragoons that are sort of mounted infantrymen, so they would have special dragoon pistols or short dragoon style muskets, so shorter, because you can't handle a great big long arm on horses, and then some that are probably just doing saber things. I think most of them will probably had some sort of firearm besides, but having sabers and swords for cavalry was, like the main weapon because you were just, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get into some super for a second. So Ryan Mercer was the first one in, says glad to see a holiday edition. Mike Howell, happy Wednesday, Townsends. Was there any kind of government-provided care for war veterans in the 18th century for those left destitute by injury?
So, yeah, there was, in fact, there was a lot of very interesting, a lot of, it's probably the most information that we have about what was going on with standard soldiers during the war was because the government had pensions. They had a pension system for old soldiers in the 19th century. So, 25 and 30 years later, soldiers could petition the government and say, I fought during the Revolutionary War. I am now destitute. Please give me some funds, right? So I can survive. But to do that, they needed to give an account of what they did during the war so that there could be some judgment about that. And if they had any proof, whatever. Were they on the muster rolls? Did they have people that would vouch for them? So some of those sort of affidavits that went back to the government were highly detailed and would be like a book of what was going on. So this soldier would relate his whole war story. So there's a bunch of that information that's out there. And that system, that pension system, sometimes they were given, a consistent pension. Sometimes it was kind of lump sum. Seemed to be very, all over the place in how it was done. Not a very regular system, but there was a system set up.
Also in Super Chat is Gildini, I think, or Gildini, I'm not sure. And best channel on YouTube, hands down, donation of $17.76.
Yeah.
Thought that was funny.
Thank you.
Rob Young says hello from across the pond. Shiloh Namir says thank you for keeping history alive and entertaining. Zach Darling, keep up the great content, brother.
Thank you, Zach.
Goldeny, again, I will not be out-donated with another donation. Thank you very much. Harshman Hills, let's all play that game.
Yeah.
Harshman Hills is in Super Chat. Raise a glass for all of my fellow veterans for days past and present. So, cheers to that. I will drink to that. And Amber Crystal Doter, that guy with the green hat was so macaroni. Aaron Howitt, some medical questions. What were amputations and prosthetics like? And did the concept of shell shock exist yet?
What can you say about the medical system for soldiers and military during the Revolutionary War? Could it get more grisly? I don't think so. Amputations are happening because there's so little that they can do for infection. Sometimes the very best way to repair something in those cases, or the best way to save a person's life, because they knew if they tried to have this thing heal, this an appendage, arm, leg, whatever it is, maybe the only real way to save this person was just quick, cut it off, let's sew the skin up and hope it doesn't go on us. Now, in general, it was amazingly successful. I mean, we think about how easy people get infected today, and the circumstances under which this was done in the time period, and it is, we look back on it and think it's amazing that anyone survived, and a great quantity of people survived things that we would find astounding in the time period. Even ones, especially very, very, horrific things happening during sea battles. And during sea battles, well, actually, they had a better chance of surviving at sea because there was less. They were out in the open ocean, and so all that salt air apparently was better for surviving. And survival was better if you did not go to a hospital. Hospitals were bad. So yeah, it's a study, a lifetime study in and of itself, the medical system during this time period.
So real quick, the problem with this audio thing is every time I switch it, it's going to glitch the audio out for a couple seconds. So either we cut the stream, try to fix it, or just go.
Is it the lag is broken?
Yeah, for some reason your mouth isn't lining up with your, yeah.
Yeah.
I say we just keep going. Sorry.
Yeah.
Please don't spam in the chat about the audio being out of sync. Because, you know.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. We could fix it if we could test it a whole bunch, but
Yeah, what are you at?
really
350 or something?
I'm actually trying to ramp it up more,
Okay.
but it like glitches your voice out every time I change it, and that's just,
I can stop talking for a second.
well, it doesn't matter.
Man, look at how much time we just conversed about that. Sorry. That was, Max are cool. And Super Chat.
Max.
Can you recommend more first-person soldier accounts of the Revolutionary War like Joseph Plum Martin's?
Well, I will be talking about him in a minute, and we've got a new one that's out, Adventures of Ebenezer Fox.
Right.
And we're working on some other ones.
Mr. Ebenezer's book we just put on the website, and I'm going to drop that link in the chat, right? Well, I'm going to wait until everybody that's saying it's okay on the
sound
voice
thing?
sync.
Okay.
I'm going to wait so it doesn't disappear. S. Mackey commented, bricks, bricks, bricks in all caps. They're very excited about bricks.
Well, you will be when the episode comes out. We're excited about bricks too. Aaron, is it going to be good?
It's going to be pretty awesome. I'm very excited about it.
Awesome. Epic has been the word.
Yes, pretty epic.
So, yeah.
Spencer Kleeweg, I believe, coined for the bartender, not going to make you pronounce anything today. That was very kind of you, Spencer. Thank you. David Dinelli, any good resources to find some of these uniform descriptions? Ooh. What was that series of books, John? Crap. There were several of them.
Uniforms of the American Revolution?
What's that?
Uniforms of the American Revolution?
But it was a whole series, right? Like
Oh,
white
you're
covers
talking
and-
about the Men at Arms series
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Stackpole Books. Stackpole Books, Men at Arms series. They have multiple books. They go through all time periods. You want to know about Roman soldiers or World War II or whatever, but there's a bunch of Revolutionary War soldier.
Katie T, it's American Revolutions by Alan Taylor. Has been a great read for pre-revolutionary and early revolutionary information.
You want to read? You want to go over that one again? What was it again?
That was
Alan Turner?
American Revolutions by Alan Taylor.
American Revolution.
NPG Owen and Super Chat. Hi, I'm just now dropping in. Haven't seen John in a soldier's uniform in a long time. I believe Shell Shock. Shell. It autocorrected. I believe Shell Shock first became known in World War One.
Yeah, I think you'll find references to people talking about that kind of issue, and in fact, of course, that term and what was going on there, yes, that's definitely a later time.
Okay, and Rowie Wade sends in a super chat, so thank you. And he would like you to know that quit living in the past, let it go, get a life. So there's that.
I'm supposed to stop living in the past?
I'm assuming you and me, we're both
Yeah.
just silly.
Come on.
I'm doing
with
it
you.
right.
on this.
Stop living in the past.
I'm
As
with
he
you.
is using his computer and
Yeah, right. So here's the link to that book, Ebenezer Fox. Go check it out, guys.
okay.
Okay, right now, before we get back into other stuff, we're going to talk about these mugs.
So we like to do mugs for the fans here on people that come visit the Nutmeg Tavern. Usually we have the Boar's Head one. That's a standard logo, but we have a special holiday logo. We've used it for a year or two. This one is the Jumping Stag Nutmeg Tavern mug. Tell you what, these guys go fast. And I told Patreon people about them, and they came in and snapped up a whole bunch of them. And so there aren't a ton left. So if you want one and you want them right away, you have the link, right?
You've got it, Aaron? I've got it.
Okay, throw it up.
He's going to put the link in the chat. The deal is that these will all disappear very shortly. If you still want one, though, and if you get here after the fact or they're all gone, you don't have a chance, whatever, hit the notify me when they're available again button and put your email address in there. And the website will tell you when we get some more in. I expect to get another small load of the nutmeg colored ones soon. So there's this beautiful blueberries and cream.
Yeah.
In the barrel shape, there's the nutmeg version that's brown, and I don't have one with me. And there's a really nice green with white frosting. That one is this shape of a mug. These guys are available. Again, they are limited quantities, and we keep upping the quantities, and they all disappear.
So seriously, this is not a sales tactic. We're not saying, oh, they're going to be gone because we want you to buy them. We're saying that if you want one, buy it before the live stream ends because they will be gone tonight.
Yeah. But we'll do our best to get more.
Okay, so Super Chat's going kind of nuts. I'm going to try to blitz through it.
Yeah, I got some readings, so.
Yeah, why don't you go to Yeah, go to some readings first.
Okay. Joseph Plum Martin. If you're interested in this book, there's a link to the Amazon kind of store that has books on it. Down in the description section, you'll find it. It's one of the best books for describing a soldier's life in the 18th century that kind of is very readable in today's terms. So I highly recommend this. He, like a lot of these soldier stories, he tries to get into the military at a very young age. Let's see. In the month of June this year, orders came out for enlisting men for 6 months. From the 25th of this month. So, at first they were recruiting for a year-long service, and he didn't want to do that. So he said, "I'll wait and see if they'll do it for 6 months." The troops were styled new levies. They were to go to New York, and notwithstanding, I was told that the British Army at that place was reinforced with 15,000 men. It made no alteration in my mind. I did not care if there had been 15 times 15,000. I should have gone just as soon as there had been but 1,500. I never spent a thought about the numbers. Obviously, a young man, not worried, right? A soldier's life. We were soon ordered to our regimental parade, from which, as soon as the regiment was formed, we were marched off for a ferry. At the lower end of the street were placed several casks of sea bread, like ship's biscuits, hardtack, made, I believe, of quenelle and peas meal. Yuck is the other word for that. Nearly hard enough for musket flints. The casks were unheaded, and each man was allowed to take as much as he could as he marched by. As my good luck would have it, there was a momentary halt made. I improved the opportunity thus afforded me, as every good soldier should upon all important occasions, to get as many of the biscuits as I possibly could. No one said anything to me, and I filled my bosom and took as many as I could hold in my hand, a dozen or more in all, and when we had arrived at the ferry stairs, I stowed them away in my knapsack. He talks about food an awful lot in this, and lack thereof. There is one amazing section where he talks about going to this, defending this particular location that was an island in the middle of a river. The island, as it is called, is nothing more than a mud flat in the Delaware, lying upon the west side of the channel. It is diked around the fort with sluices so constructed that the fort could be laid under water at pleasure. And then he goes on later. On the western side of the fortification was a row of barracks extending from the northern part of the works to about half the length of the fort. On the northern end was another block of barracks which reached nearly across the fort from east to west, and in front of these was a large square 2-story house for the accommodation of the officers of the garrison. Neither this house nor the barracks were of much use at this time, for it was as much as a man's life was worth to enter them. The enemy often directed their shot at them, in particular in front of the barracks and other necessary places where the parades and walks. The rest of the ground was soft mud. I have seen the enemy's shells fall upon it and sink so low that their report could not be heard when they burst. I could only feel a tremulous motion of the earth at the time, and at other times when they burst near the surface of the ground, they would throw the mud 50 feet in the air. So here he is trying to defend, or they are trying to defend this mud island in the middle of the river. Our batteries were nothing more than old spars and timber laid up in parallel lines and filled between with mud and dirt. The British batteries, of course, in the course of the day, would nearly level our works, and we were like the beaver, obliged to repair our dams in the night. So the fortification was going to get all blown up, and they'd go out at night and fix it, probably by the light of cannon fire. It was utterly impossible to lie down to get any rest or sleep on account of the mud. If the enemy's shot would have suffered us to do so. Sometimes some of the men, when overcome with fatigue or want of sleep, would slip away into the barracks to catch a nap of sleep. But it seldom happened that they all came out alive again. I was in this place a fortnight, and can say in sincerity that I never lay down to sleep a minute in all that time. Hard to imagine. Probably a year or two later, we went by easy marches, and nothing of consequence occurred until we arrived at New London. Here we were put into houses, and here too we almost starved to death. I believe should have quite starved had we not found some clams which kept us from absolutely dying. We had nothing to eat except now and then a little miserable beef or a little fresh fish and a very little bread, baked by a baker belonging to the town, which had some villainous drug incorporated within it that took all the skin off our mouths. Let's see. Apparently there was a ship that had been run aground to be torn apart. He says, one day I went aboard her, and in the bread room I found 1 or 2 bushels of sea biscuit. At night again I went on board and filled my knapsack, which was a relief to my hungry stomach. But this bread had as much flesh as bread, being as full of worms as ever dry sapwood of white ash pole was. Consequently, it required a deal of circumspection in eating it. However, it was better than snowballs. Not much to eat there. And there's this one just hilarious section. I don't know. There's snow camping. No, I'll read this one. Be that as it would, I got nothing. Again, he's talking about food. I got nothing, as I have said, till the second day. I had been with them when they drew, if I remember right, 2 days' rations from our good old diet, salt shad, as we had not as yet associated ourselves into regular messes, as is usual in the army. Each man had his fish divided out by himself. We were on the green before the meeting house, and there were several cows feeding about the place. I went into the house to get something to put my fish into, or some other business, and stayed longer than I intended, or rather ought to have done, for when I came out again, one of the cows was just finishing her meal on my shad, and the last I saw of it was the tail of the fish sticking out of the side of her mouth. I was vexed enough to have eaten the weight of it off her carcass, but she took care of that, and I had another opportunity, if well improved of, mortifying my body by fasting 2 days longer. But I got something among the men, as poorly as they were off, to sustain nature till I could get more by some other means. such shifts were nothing strange to us. So a cow ate his salted shad. We talked about salted shad when we were at Mount Vernon, right? A cow ate his salt fish, which I find just incredible. This book full of great, fun, interesting stories. The Adventures of Ebenezer Fox. He put a link in the description section. Again, an incredibly interesting character. This book was written later on as a testament. He was talking to, he came back from his war adventures, and he was always getting questions about it from children in his family, from people in town. So he decided he would write up what it was like. And we have this book, lucky for us. Let's see. He early on in the book, he ran off with a friend, probably at 13 or 14 years old, and went on board a ship and became a ship's boy and sailed in the merchant service in the early Revolutionary War, so probably 1776, something like that. He got back from that stint, and at one point he decides, he comes back, his father decides to indenture him as an apprentice to someone in the city. I think he's indentured as to a barber wig maker. And here's what happens to the barber himself. At length, from various ejaculations and now and then half-smothered curses upon his ill luck, we gathered the fact that he, the barber, was enrolled among the soldiers who were soon to take up a line of march for New York. This was an unfortunate business for him, a reality he had not anticipated. The idea of shouldering a musket and buckling on a knapsack, leaving his quiet family and marching several hundred miles for the good of his country never took a place in his mind. Although a firm friend to his country and willing to do all he could to help among her cause, as far as expressing favorable opinions and good wishes availed, yet there was an essential difference in his mind between the theory and the art of war, between acting the soldier and triumphing at the soldier's success. So his person he's working under has been, for lack of a better term, drafted. But in the time period, you could send someone else in your stead. So Ebenezer Fox goes ahead and offers himself, even though he isn't of age, to go in his stead. Mr. Bosson accepted my proposition to act as his substitute with a great degree of satisfaction and gratitude, which he evinced by a liberal supply of clothing and equipment for the service. He did not suffer my zeal to cool, but immediately gave directions to me to have me enrolled and enlisted for 3 months in a company commanded by Captain William Byrd of Boston in a regiment under Colonel Proctor. Let's see, does he keep going on? He definitely wanted to hurry him off as quick as possible so that he didn't change his mind. Ebenezer Fox doesn't serve. This is just a very short service. And they get to their final spot after doing some little deed, and he says, "We remained here 6 weeks when General Washington, having changed his plan of operations, abandoned his design of attacking New York, and our services were no longer needed." So it was just basically a militia kind of situation. When we left Boston, each of us received $3,000 in Continental money. Sounds good, right? Of the value of which the reader may not have already formed some idea, it had not risen since our departure, for we found on our return that from $100 to $150 of it were required for a simple repast. So it was virtually worthless money, even though we got $3,000 worth of it. In addition to this compensation, our monthly pay was 40 shillings in the same currency. My clothes were much worn and damaged in the service, and upon our return were found in a very shabby condition, especially my shoes. Of these I had 2 pairs, but the good judgment of a thief was shown by stealing the better pair one night while I was asleep, leaving me no other alternative than to go barefoot or secure the remaining ones to my feet by winding rope yarns around them in the form of bandages. He later on goes to serve in I think again in the Merchant Marine. No, I think a privateer. Yes, a privateer. The privateer has one very good cruise, capturing ships. They're on another cruise. They're captured, and he is put on board the prison ship Jersey, which is famous for the Revolutionary War time period, anchored in the harbor in New York, and the description here. Well, let me read it. It will be recollected too that the water was salt. They're on board here, and he's talking about their rations. I'll skip the part above this. It was really, the water was salt, which caused the inside of the copper, the cooking copper, to become corroded to such a degree that it was lined with a coat of verdigris. That is copper sulfate, which is poisonous. Meat thus cooked must in some degree be poisoned, and the effects of it were manifest in the cadaverous countenances of the emaciated beings who had remained on board for any length of time. The persons chosen by each mess to receive their portions of food were summoned by the cook's bell to receive their allowance, and when it had remained in the boiler a certain time, the bell would sound again, and the allowance must be immediately taken away. Whether it was sufficiently cooked or not, it could remain no longer. The food was generally very imperfectly cooked, yet this sustenance, wretched as it was deficient in quantity, was greedily devoured by the half-starved prisoners. No vegetables were allowed to us. Many times since, when I have seen in the country a large kettle of potatoes or pumpkins steaming over a fire to satisfy the appetites of a farmer's swine, I have thought of our destitute and starved condition, and what a luxury we should have considered the contents of that kettle on board the Jersey. He goes on to try to almost escape from the Jersey. He goes ahead and he takes the offer of serving with the British so that he gets off the Jersey, and then he escapes from that situation and again serves aboard a military vessel under the American flag. So again, and books like this, they're incredible reads.
Man. Okay. So I got a lot of catching up to do. Here's one more time the link for the books. For the mugs. And then we will do the link for Ebenezer again. You can keep talking for a second.
Oh, hey, let me go through the Patreon list.
So
we have Patreon folks that help support what we do on the channel by a very, very concrete method of supporting us with a very, very small monthly, you get to choose amount. Let me read to you the brand new Patreon names for this week. Actually, it's a half a week. I sound like I'm going to be like Ryan here. Beppis Lesnolf, Heather Torrey, Eric Nord, Dustin Schroer, Catherine Sprossig, Pamarooney, I like that one, Thomas Young, Jay Allery, Cole Nelson, Sarah Butler, Jesse Lee, Matt Cowley, thank you, Matt, for your message on Patreon, Joe Ringbauer, and then just Kate. And some people, they don't want to do a monthly thing, they just want to do a quick just one-time thing. PayPal, there's a link for PayPal for folks that want to do that. It is one of the best ways. It's got the least amount of overhead. So thank you for doing the PayPal things. And Marilyn Donahue, Deborah Crawford, Christoph Dreyer, and Sarah Mercado. All those folks helped us out that way. Again, we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much.
Here is the link for the Ebenezer Fox book.
There you go.
And then I'm going to read some super chat stuff. Man, there's a lot of it, and I got to find where I need to be. Okay. Amber Crystal Doder, National Museum of Health and Medicine started out as a military medicine museum and is full of amazing, fascinating, gross things. Highly recommended if you're in Maryland or if you're ever in Maryland.
Name it again.
The National Museum of Health and Medicine.
There we go.
Harmon is in Super Chat. Were there significant veteran-oriented social groups or societies in 18th century America? Keep up the good work on the stream and the channel.
I don't know. That's a interesting question, and I don't have an answer to that.
Deborah Crawford sent in a donation without a comment.
Thank you, Deborah.
I see dead llamas? I don't know. Llamas, there we go. Hey, Townsends, is that uniform comfortable at all?
It is not uncomfortable in the least. And very nice and warm in the wintertime. Yeah.
All right, Alan, do we have any accounts of conscientious objectors during the 18th century?
Conscientious objectors. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that sort of, but I don't know. Okay, Quakers. There you go.
Okay. Denise Maloney Piran, love the coat. Thanks for the midweek live stream. Robert K. Bennett, are you a fan of the John Adams miniseries, and what shoes were most soldiers given?
So yeah, I think the John Adams one is amazing work. Love it. And shoes are going to be very similar to everyone. I mean, they're just typical shoes of the time period: leather, black, straight lasted. So that means there are no lefts and rights. They're straight. You can swap them around if you really like. Buckles for closures. So that's what they're like. But you could tell they did not last long. You know, we expect even our inexpensive shoes to last us quite a while. Having a pair of shoes that lasts 3 months or 6 months and they're worn out, I mean trashed, not inconceivable at all. I think Joseph Plum Martin talks about shoes and they were very ill-fitting too, very painful to wear at times.
Brian Gibbs won't stop living in the past. Denise Maloney Piran, got a blue stag mug, finally got a blue mug.
Yeah.
Nice. Mike Howell, here's a drink on me, keep living in the past and pay no mind to people that say otherwise.
Thank you.
Trey Willis, I deleted that message because I hated it. NPG Owen, coin for the bartender. If he can pronounce it, I'm not going to try, but thank you so much. Lisa B, love the show, but keep your powder dry. Yes. I see dead llamas. To your knowledge, are there accounts of PTSD-like symptoms in soldiers from the Revolution?
Yeah. I think anybody who served on Mud Island, if they survived it, are going to have those kinds of symptoms.
Hermosa Beach guy, that's what I'm saying. I've noticed that you are left-handed. Would that have been difficult in the colonial times, or would you have just been burned at the stake?
I don't know that there was that sort of persecution of left-handed people in the 18th century, but later on we hear about sort of left-handed people being switched to right-handed people in school, even in obviously the 20th century, and who knows, maybe it happens today. I have no idea. But I don't know that there was that much of an issue with trying to, as a standard thing to force people that are left-handed to be right-handed people in the 18th century. But yeah, all things are made right-handed, and you
probably shoot a musket right-handed, right? As of now?
No, that's one of the few things. I mean, I'm fairly ambidextrous in a lot of different things, but just putting a gun to the wrong shoulder is like, what? This is like a stick. It doesn't work. I shoot left-handed. Speed and Style Tony, have you seen the art by Don Troiani?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He does paintings of soldiers. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Very nice.
Daniel Puritas. I'm gonna say. Oh no, there was no comment, just a donation.
Thank you.
Aaron Howard spent the day in front of the fire as it rains outside on the tin roof.
Lucky you.
Then I saw there's a Townsends live stream.
Woo!
Today is a good day.
I
Thank
guess.
you. Henry Slade. Oh, man, this just refreshed on me.
Wish I could have sat down by the
But
fire.
Henry Slade was also deleted because it was inappropriate. Wendy
Okay.
Carr sends in a donation without a comment, and Aaron Howitt, tin roof. Not. Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said it said time roof, but tin roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it. She's not trying to make fun of me reading. I know that she's not. Daniel
No one
Purta's
would do that.
guy on the laptop is kind of breaking the mood. Man, I hate it for you. Sean Ray, been following your channel for years. Now keep up the good work. Never forget the past. Matthew H. Not sure what's going on with the chat today, but you guys are awesome. Can't wait for the stag mug. Thank you guys. And thank our troops.
Thank you.
Moon. Afghanistan vet here. Love the show. I'm interested in how soldiers on both sides viewed their small arms technology in comparison to each other's.
They were pretty evenly matched. I mean, the technology at the time, at least when you were fighting with muskets, they're all very, very similar. There were a lot of French muskets in the American side, and even Spanish muskets that were imported to help, arm the troops. But they are all extremely similar in their functionality and the way they worked, accuracy, whatever. Now there certainly is there's more reliance upon riflemen in the Americans than the British did not take up rifles until like almost 1812, much later when they came up with the riflemen and the Baker rifle and all that. So the idea of using rifles was certainly a lot more prevalent. Not that it was massively prevalent. I mean, that's one of those things where we're sort of taught maybe one of the, and I don't want to keep going about that, but yes, more rifles on the American side as opposed to none on the British.
John Talley in Super Chat. Were veterans viewed as heroes in the 18th century like they are today?
That is a little bit harder to come up with the answer, because you got to find the right kind of people writing about what they thought about soldiers in a time period. And I think there certainly is a lot of reverence for the people that especially fought in the Revolutionary War.
Keltoid 5 just made it. Cheers, Semper Fi.
Hey. Yeah.
With lots of tainted brain. Free America, U.S. Army Iraq vet, loving the show and the channel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel, again, why do some Nutmeg Tavern mugs have stags? Isn't the logo a boar? Would love to see the blue boar mug again.
We have these that are especially for the holidays. I mean, we have sort of two different logos that we use, and we had both of them made up, and we were trying to choose between them, and we said we don't have to choose. You know what? That's all there is to it. So we went with the boar one as the main everyday one, but yet Christmas time the other sign comes out, and you get a stag.
They were actually made at the same time, and you'll notice that the stag is used in the when we have a guest that's over Skype or something. You'll see the stag in. What's that, backdrop, I guess, Aaron? Is that what you call it?
Nutmeg Academy backdrop,
Yeah.
overlay or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, John Talley. What was the relationship with patriots and those loyal to England who remained in America like after the war? Was there a Reconstruction type thing after the war?
Well, we've got the issue of loyalists, people that were for the British side, and sometimes after the war they had their property confiscated. There were times when they went up to Canada, so it's like, well, this isn't the place for me anymore. I'm going to go to Canada or go back to Britain. Some of them, and then after a time period, some of them came back. So there's a lot of different things going on there, but there was a ton of animosity for the people that were loyalists in this situation. There was a lot of ill feelings after the war, as you can expect.
Okay, Palmer 3. Any plans to open the homestead up to visitors? Are you going to get any animals?
We don't have any current plans for that. It is on a private piece of property. It isn't sort of, made for a public's visiting, as it were. And currently, we don't have any plans for animals because animals chain you down. It's hard for me to go and shoot at other locations, if that ever happens again. When you're kind of somebody who's going to take care of the animals, and sometimes they need, taken care of 2 and 3 times a day and all that good stuff. So we don't currently have any plans for that because of the amount of energy and time that it takes, and it would make it difficult for us to do other projects.
Okay, Mike Cruck in Super Chat, grab the blue mug. Thanks for the Vet Day stream.
Thank you.
D. Stanley, PTSD in the Civil War was called Soldier's Heart and was linked to hypertension among veterans in post-war years. Okay. Rachel Lee in Super Chat, I'm a silversmith. Could you do some history on jewelry of the early Americans?
Jewelry. Great, fun topic.
I think that we did have one.
Yeah.
Did we have a live stream?
Yeah,
on
there
that?
is a live stream where we touched on it. Yeah.
John Griggs, sorry. Direct descendant of Sergeant Ensign Ichabod Griggs, killed in New Rochelle, New York.
New Rochelle?
Yeah, whatever. How were veteran-like funerals carried out?
I do not know. I do not have an answer for you. There is amazing stuff the easy research would be, what was General Washington's funeral like? And that was something else.
Katie Teets is in Super Chat, says 15 extra minutes, please. Oh, gosh. Don't think that we can accommodate that today.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think that catches us up on Super Chat.
Right.
And yeah, the links for the books and the mugs have both been dropped in here several times. You guys can scroll and find those if you're still interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people know, we aren't streaming Friday.
Yes,
correct?
we are not streaming Friday, and I don't know if we'll be able to. Are we going to even leave this one up because of the time?
Oh, it's not. It's
the
not
lip
that
reading
bad.
thing. Okay, good.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So Nathan Chilton sends in a super chat. Love your channel. Thank you to all of our veterans.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why the time period is what it is because of the wars and the military service that people did during the time period. That's one of the reasons why the 18th century is a nexus for what we do, is because of the very, very formative things that happened. The French and Indian War, Revolutionary War, War of 1812. Very, very amazing to see how things were formed, and because of what certain people did, even individuals as soldiers during the war.
Just got word in. Somebody said that all of the mugs are sold out. So I have not checked that. It could be. We've got a lot of spam today, so you can follow it. But also, if you see a mug that you like, you can click the little button that says to notify you when we get them back in stock.
Right.
And then you'll have first dibs when they come back in stock. So do that.
Yes. One of the reasons why they kind of ran out quickly was because we had already notified those people who had asked before. So if you want to know when the next batch is before anyone else does, hit the notify button. Are we there?
We are there.
An incredible Wednesday live stream here at the Nutmeg Tavern, and it is getting hot in here. The fire's going, and the bartender, he's like trying to hush everybody out.
Well,
and
my
he's
shift's over.
putting the chairs up on the tables and turning the lights out as we go. So thank you guys for joining us and having fun here on the Nutmeg Tavern. I so enjoy having this sit-down chat with you guys. And again, just blown away by last Monday's, not this Monday's because we didn't do one, last Monday's response from the video and how everybody, responded to that. Thank you so much for your great encouragement of what we do. That means everything to us being able to just do it and do it and do it, right? So we don't know what people want unless they tell us, and we don't work into a void. We really need that kind of feedback. You guys make this channel happen. You share our videos, and that Monday video was one that got shared a lot. It really makes a huge difference to what we do. And the support, whether it's Super Chat, buying a mug, or Patreon, again, that helps us do it in a monetary way. So thank you for your amazing support. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.